Hi everyone, it's Jill, founder of Kids Baking Club. I'm so excited to come to you today. This is one of my favorite recipes I love to make when it is October, November, and even December. It's a real fall favorite because it's a chocolate chip cookie recipe, but adding pumpkin to it. So it's pumpkin chocolate chip. It sounds like a weird combination. I know, it does sound really strange, but you would be surprised how good they are. You're mixing the pumpkin with the spices and then adding the chocolate chips. I don't know if you've ever had pumpkin ice cream and then you add chocolate sauce on top of it. It's kind of like that. So you guys are ready to get started? Hey, if you're not part of Kids Baking Club, we are sending out our October Pumpkin Patch Party box. Just go to kidsbakingclub.com. And if you want this recipe, just go to kidsbakingclub.com. Also, click the blog, and I've already posted this recipe. You can print it and you can make it today. Wouldn't that be fun? And don't forget to like this because then it actually shares it with lots of other people. Okay, so let's go over the ingredients. You need, for the wet ingredients, you need 1 can of pumpkin puree, not the pumpkin pie mix because that has milk in it and things like this. Is just pure pumpkin. So you want 1 can of that. I think it's 15 ounces. I was looking at that. Oh yeah, it's 15 ounces. So it's a little more than a cup of pumpkin puree. You need 1 cup of sugar and 1/2 cup of brown sugar. I made this first from a recipe I found from some blog where it was just sugar and not the brown sugar. I didn't like them as much. So I've tweaked the recipe and now I'm adding the brown sugar and it makes it so much moisture and more fall tasting. I just love that. So 1 egg. You also need 1 stick of butter and you need to make sure it's softened. Not melted, not cold, but softened. And I actually have been letting this sit in the bowl for a while so it's nice and soft. And then 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. And then for our dry ingredients, we're doing 2.5 cups of flour, all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder to give it that lift, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of salt, and then 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. If you can't find that, then you're gonna need 1 teaspoon of cinnamon and then 1/4 teaspoon of, let me see if I can remember, cardamom, nutmeg, cloves. Yeah, that's what the 3 other ingredients. And then 1 heaping cup of chocolate chips. You do need 2 bowls. And you need a baking pan, preferably using parchment paper. Hey, I had a great question. Someone asked me, what's the difference between wax paper and parchment paper? And it's a great question because parchment paper is just made with wood, so it will not burn inside the oven. But wax paper has a wax film and it will burn in the oven. So you do not want to use wax paper. You always want to use parchment paper. If you don't have parchment paper, then you're going to want to lightly spray with a non-grease spray or with shortening or some butter just to oil up the pan just a little bit, unless you have a baking stone, because usually you don't have to with those. Okay, let's get started. So we're going to do 1 stick of butter. And try to get all that butter in as much as you can. Yes, 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 yes. And you can see it's soft. You can see how soft it is. That's just perfect. And then we're gonna mix the sugars together, cream the sugars. If you have a mixer, you can use a mixer for this too. I prefer to get a little bit of a workout and actually stir it together. Now you can make your own pumpkin puree too. You can take a pumpkin and after like Halloween or even before, get a pumpkin pie pumpkin. And what you do is you just cut it in half, take the seeds out and put it face up or face down into the oven at 350 degrees until it's nice and squishy. Then you cool it and then scrape out all the pulp, and you can either do it in a blender or a mixer and get it nice to a nice puree. A lot of work, but it's worth it if you've got a pumpkin that you can actually use. Okay, now we're going to add the pumpkin puree. I'm gonna add that in there. This is 100% pure pumpkin. And make sure you check the sell dates, because when it's like vegetables like this, you want to make sure it's the right sell date. So go ahead and mix your pumpkin just a little bit, just to get it somewhat incorporated. And now I can add the egg. Just gonna add 1 egg. Oh, that almost came right out. And then 1 teaspoon of pure, I love the smell of vanilla. I don't know what that is. I love the smell of vanilla. I think it reminds me of my grandma. My grandma's the one that taught me how to bake. Used to watch her all the time baking, and there's something like certain smells like apples, apple pie or bread in the oven. She used to make this anise bread. We call it Easter bread. And whenever I smell that, I just instantly am brought back to my childhood with my grandma. Just really brings back all those memories. She used to spend all day making gnocchi, and then my dad would eat it like in 5 minutes. That's really a labor of love, right? Okay, I'm gonna mix that really, really well. I can already smell the pumpkin in here, but we're gonna even make it smell better because we're gonna add now the spices. So we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm just gonna whisk that together, and then I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. Oh my goodness, it doesn't even fit. Okay, I'm gonna have to. Have you ever had that where the actual spoon doesn't fit into where you need to go? So, just gonna add that in. A little bit heaping, but that's okay. More spice is good. More spice is good. And then we're gonna whisk that all together. And I know kids and parents, I've told you this before, but it's really important to mix your spices in dry ingredients. Otherwise, because there's oil in the spices, what happens is if you just dump it into liquid, it just seizes it, and then all of a sudden you're biting into a cookie and you're getting all cinnamon or all nutmeg or all pumpkin spice instead of it being distributed evenly. Okay, now that I have that, and oh yeah, I can smell it. It smells so good. Now we're gonna add this in. And if you're using a mixer, you wanna go ahead, you can mix all of this in, but then when it's time to do the chocolate chips, you wanna turn the mixer off and you wanna do it yourself. Because you don't want little crinkles of chocolate chips. So I'm just gonna do this. This should make about 24 cookies. Now, unlike a chocolate chip dough where it's really dry, this pumpkin recipe, the cookie recipe is a little bit wetter, and it might shock you a little bit, but that's okay. When they bake, they're going to spread and be really, really good. Okay, now that I've got this done, I'm gonna sprinkle in my chocolate chips and add those in. So you wanna preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Seems to be a standard with baking these days, 350 degrees. And remember, I always tell the kids and I always tell the parents, and make sure that it's preheated. Whenever you use baking powder, you always want to make sure that it's preheated so that it starts to work right away. Okay, now you're going to take a spoon. Let me dry my hands off just a little bit. Just a little spoon, and you're just gonna make doubles. I put on the blog, the recipe, I put golf ball size. So just little golf ball size balls, about 12 on each pan. You're gonna bake them for about 12 minutes. You'll see them nice and spread out. And they're so good. This would make such a great gift for people if you want to send a nice care package to somebody. All right, I'm almost finished up. So I did want to let you know that if you join our baking club, that you do get bonuses right now. If you join month by month, you get a free apron like the one I'm wearing, but it's kid size. And if you sign up for a 6-month or a 12-month, the bonuses are amazing. Like you get a extra baking kit for free, plus the apron. And then if it's a 12-month, you get the extra apron, plus our one-of-a-kind t-shirts, plus the extra baking kit, which is like this huge savings. So our goal is we just want people to have fun making and baking with their family. And we want kids to learn these life skills, these baking skills at a young age, because for me, it has helped me in so many other areas of my life, and it teaches kids so many really important skills, and that's our whole goal. So I'm gonna stick these in the oven for 12 minutes, and then I'll show you what they look like when I get back. And here they are. They are so yummy, spicy, pumpkin, chocolate, all mixed together. They make a soft, gooey, yummy cookie. I know you're gonna love this recipe. We'll see you next time. Don't forget to go to kidsbakingclub.com, click the blog, and you'll get this printable